Oh, my bank book is missing. I'm sure I put it in the back of this drawer, I thought. Could it be them? Despite supporting the life of the eldest son and his wife, who have been living together for several years, they have ignored me for 3 years without even saying thank you. I just wanted them to show a little gratitude, but it's okay now. I will never forgive them. My name is Emily, 56 years old. I retired from my company to care for my unstable mother-in-law. Currently, I am working from home while providing care. Although I was a few years away from retirement, I couldn't leave my mother-in-law living alone, so I decided to live with her. My husband is away on business and comes home once a month at best. But when he does come back, he brings lots of vegetables and Japanese sweets that my mother-in-law likes. Thank you. I'm so grateful for everything you do for me. I wish I could have fed your father too, my mother-in-law says every time she speaks. She often expresses her gratitude to us and her feelings for my father-in-law. He passed away over 10 years ago from cancer, and in the end, he couldn't even eat his favorite foods. Maybe he could have been saved if we had done the tests earlier. By the time the illness was discovered, it was too late for treatment. Only symptom relief was possible. So my mother-in-law often says she wishes she could have fed my father-in-law the delicious foods she now eats. My mother-in-law's condition varies greatly from day to day. Some days she's bedridden and barely eats, while other days she's energetic and goes for a walk by herself. I'm often surprised by her unpredictable behavior, but as long as she enjoys her days, I'm happy to watch over her. However, there's a troublesome event for my mother-in-law and me that happens 2 or 3 times a month. It's when the eldest son and his wife from the neighborhood show up. Mom, Grandma, long time no see. Were you well? We're starving. Can you make something to eat right away? Sorry you intrude. Mother-in-law, I'm hungry, so please hurry. The eldest son, Tom, and his wife, Catherine, got married a year ago and frequently come to our house like this. They appear suddenly, demanding meals to be made, and sometimes even terribly asking for pocket money. They probably know when the mother-in-law's pension comes in. Hey, Grandma, today's the day your pension comes in, right? Sorry, but could you donate a little to us, the less fortunate? I thought, it's starting again. Every time, they don't leave until they get the money. Tom, enough is enough. What about your job? Aren't you working? Stop begging for Grandma's precious pension. Huh? What's it to you? This is between me and Grandma, right? Isn't that right, Grandma? The gentle and timid mother-in-law can't talk back when spoken to so strongly. She ends up giving in to their persistence, going to get her wallet and handing over $100,000. This is the routine. Her face shows she's troubled and wants to refuse but can't say it, so I often speak up for her. But when I do, it usually ends in a quarrel. I report everything to my husband, who's away on business. He just sighs in exasperation, saying, "What a troublemaker." Not holding a steady job. What is he even doing? Just got married and he's already hopeless. My husband does scold our son, but it seems to have no effect over the phone. This is how my mother-in-law and I feel, exhausted just by their visits, losing the will to do anything else. I'm tired, yes, really. It's like they drain all my energy. I endure things, thinking it was only 2 or 3 times a month, but their visits became more frequent, increasing our stress. Then an incident happened in the middle of a weekday. My son suddenly came home. So I got fired from my job, and for a while, I want to live here. Fired. My son had been repeatedly absent without leave, and even lost a USB containing important company data. There was talk of a pay cut at first, but he ended up fighting with his boss and getting fired. Despite being clearly at fault, He seems unrepentant. Seriously, none of them even do their jobs properly and act all high and mighty. That's why I hate people who act like they're elite. So I'll be moving in next week, just so you know. Wait a minute. Living together is out of the question. This is too sudden. The mother-in-law's health isn't good every day, you know. Although I tried to refuse, Tom didn't seem to be changing his mind. He's always been stubborn, deciding to do something regardless of what anyone says, and I doubted he'd listen to me. As expected, he got even more upset, saying, it's already decided, so no way. I've canceled the apartment lease and requested a moving company. If you still say I can't live here, then you're going to pay for our living expenses, right? I couldn't help but sigh. If my husband were here, he would sternly scold them and send them away. But I can't stand up to them alone. Hey, Emily, is Tom moving in here? If so, should I go to a facility? I'll be in the way, and those kids aren't even working. What are you talking about, mother-in-law? Don't worry about such things. I'll make sure Tom gets a job, and he'll be leaving soon. I felt terribly sorry for making my elderly mother-in-law worry like this. Indeed, we doted on our only son, but never intended to raise him to be so unreasonable. I hate to say it, but the son I knew was kind and considerate. He clearly changed after meeting his wife, Catherine. To ease my mother-in-law's worries, I reassured her. Mother-in-law, you don't have to worry about anything. I intend to take good care of you. Repeating my explanations several times, the mother-in-law's tense face slowly relaxed. But then the day came when my son and his wife moved in. All too soon. We had separate bedrooms, but we rearranged the rooms to share one as she felt insecure being alone. Her desire to share a room showed how anxious she was. Soon after, my son and his wife arrived, and their behavior from the first day was appalling. Hey, Mom, we're planning to use the entire second floor for our room. That's okay, right? From today, the second floor bathroom is ours only. You guys don't come upstairs, okay? Yeah, really. We're still technically newlyweds, you know. We don't want unnecessary people coming and going, so please understand. They even moved all the stuff from my workroom on the second floor to the hallway on the same day. I was speechless, which is probably what they meant by this phrase. If I stayed silent, they would do and say whatever they wanted. Mom, the mortgage on this house is still ongoing, right? I don't plan to pay rent until I find a job, nor do I intend to pay for groceries or utilities, so take care of it. I wasn't expecting much, but I was increasingly irritated. I see, I responded. And with this conversation, I was ignored by my son and his wife from then on. A week passed since they moved in, but Tom showed no signs of job hunting. Moreover, his wife left dirty dishes unwashed and didn't do much laundry either. Additionally, every 2 weeks we had to take my mother-in-law to the clinic, but the car was always missing because they used it without asking. The car was left full of trash and low on gas, with the fuel light on, and they didn't even refuel it. As a result, we had to take a taxi for the clinic visits. Despite being overwhelmed with things to do, my mother-in-law, who should be relaxing, ended up helping with the housework. Thinking this was clearly wrong, I said to my son, Tom, are you even job hunting? You can't just stay at home all the time. Do something, at least clean up your dishes. But my son ignored me. Even though he could hear me, he just kept ignoring me. He then complained to his wife, lately, I've been hearing these hallucinations, you know. Just now, I heard something about job hunting or whatever. We have a place to live and food to eat, so why work? Stupid, right? And about cleaning up, whoever notices it should just do it, Catherine chimed in. I get you. Ever since I came to this house, I've been hearing hallucinations too. And I've even seen two ghosts. Scary. They laughed about it. They were referring to my mother-in-law and me when they mentioned hallucinations and ghosts. Their utter disregard and selfishness were appalling. But after consulting with my mother-in-law, we decided to let them be for a bit longer, believing that our chance for payback would come eventually. That's how we concluded the conversation. Like my son and his wife, my mother-in-law and I constantly talked about them when they weren't around. Did I make a mistake in raising my child? I never meant to spoil him, but seeing how he turned out, I guess I did. What are you talking about, Emily? You worked hard at your job, raised a child, and did household chores. The fault lies with Tom for not appreciating his parents' efforts. And that wife of his, honestly, she's the worst. I'd like to see her parents' faces. We were not content to just sit back and take it and started discussing how we could get them out of the house and make them regret their actions. Since we shared a bedroom, my mother-in-law and I spent our time from morning till night excitedly discussing this. In this situation, I might have been depressed if I were alone, but together it felt like we could get through it. Before we knew it, nearly 3 years had passed since they moved in. Anyway, it's been 3 years since they started ignoring us. Maybe they think we're ghosts. That's true, but their savings must be running out soon. Right. Indeed. They haven't paid a penny for rent or living expenses, but they must be covering their cell phone bills and dining out. I've heard they're estranged from Catherine's parents, so they're unlikely to be getting financial help. They might ignore us now, but surely they'll come to us for help once they run out of money. We decided that's when we would take our revenge. It was 2 weeks after that conversation. That day, we were busy preparing for my mother-in-law's clinic visit, but I noticed my son acting fidgety since morning. He didn't seem hungry. Rather, it looked like he was searching for something. Knowing he would ignore me if I spoke, I pretended not to notice and left for the hospital. When I returned home, I noticed that my son and his wife were gone. Thinking the worst, I went to check my bedroom. Oh, my bank book is missing. I'm sure I put it in the back of this drawer. Could it be them? As I was thinking this was too much, even criminal, my mother-in-law came and asked, "Emily, what's wrong? You look pale. Did something happen?" So I told her Tom and Catherine stole my bank book. It seems they took the bank book that was kept here. What? The house mortgage is $2,000 a month. On top of that, I've been supporting the life of my son and his wife, who haven't paid a penny. And this is the result. I didn't expect them to say thank you, but I at least wanted them to show some gratitude. But it's okay now. I will never forgive them. Although the bank book was stolen, according to my online banking, no money had been withdrawn from the account yet. I rushed to the bank to close the account. They were mistaken if they thought they could withdraw cash with just the bank book, without knowing the PIN and without the seal. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became at my son and his wife. I told my husband about the stolen bank book, and he said, "It's over, we can disown them for all I care." My mother-in-law suggested reporting it to the police, but we decided to leave the house as quickly as possible, making it our last resort. I couldn't let them run wild anymore and refused to be taken advantage of. Although I felt sorry for the sudden upheaval, we decided to stay at a hot spring inn until the problem was resolved. Mother-in-law, I'm sorry. I'll work on resolving this issue quickly, so please bear with it here for a while. Don't worry about me. Besides, I'm happy to stay at such a luxurious inn, she replied. At that moment, I resolved that once this problem was settled, I would definitely find a comfortable new home for my mother-in-law. A few days later, after completing various procedures, I finally had a moment to relax. Then unexpectedly, I received a call much sooner than I had anticipated. Of course, the caller was my son. Hello, Mom. You haven't been home lately. Are you on a trip? Gran was not there either, so I was just wondering what happened and got worried. He said, his voice trembling and upset. It's odd, isn't it? He ignored me for 3 years, yet now he can talk when he's in trouble. What's the matter? This is the first time you've spoken to me in 3 years. Do you need something? By the way, I have no business with you guys. Don't say that, please. I don't understand, but we received a notice to vacate the house by the end of the month. It's our own house, so what's going on? The real estate agent who took care of us was outraged when he heard our story and quickly proceeded with the paperwork. I didn't expect him to send the eviction notice to my son within 2 days. Impressive, the real estate agent had acted so promptly. I decided to tell my son the truth. That house? I sold it because I thought it was no longer needed, and it seems the new buyer wants you to leave soon. What? Even if you say that, we have nowhere to live. Where are you and Grandma now? We'll come there. My son and his wife still try to use us even now. Enough is what I feel. What? Why are you crying to me now? What a pathetic man. You freeloaded for 3 years, ignoring me and Grandma. Isn't that a bit too convenient? Just so you know, I intend to cut ties with you. Your father agrees with this decision. Don't say that, please. I didn't mean it. I wanted to get along with you and Grandma, and I'm looking for a job too. My son pleaded. My mother-in-law and I were astonished at the lies spilling from my son's mouth. If he had shown any genuine remorse, we might have reconsidered. But he had already crossed the line by stealing the bank book. By the way, you stole my bank book from the bedroom, didn't you? What were you planning to do with it? You thought as long as you got the money, everything would be fine, right? Lying won't do you any good. No, that's not. I could tell from the other end of the phone that my son was on the verge of tears. Then, realizing my son was useless, his wife took the phone. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Kicking your son and his wife out of their house. Doesn't your heart ache? Are you a demon? Just when I thought what she would say next, my daughter-in-law started hurling hysterical insults at me. She even went as far as to say, "You're just living off Grandma's pension, too. You're no different from Tom, acting all high and mighty without a job." I was so shocked that I froze for a moment, my mouth open. Jobless. Do you think I could pay off the mortgage of that big house if I were jobless? I've been paying $2,000 every month, and for your information, I'm not jobless. I felt it was pointless to tell her the truth. Her not realizing this just shows her level of unawareness. In reality, I'm earning about $5,000 a month from my remote work. But of course, I see no need to tell these two. If they had seen the contents of the bank book, they would probably have figured it out. But I had to say this much to her clearly. Hey, Catherine, you're jobless too, yet you always wear branded items. Where did you get those? I think the one acting strange here is you, huh? I suspect, but can't confirm, that she's in debt, always carrying new designer bags and wallets. Even my son, before being fired, worked at a decent company and earned a fair salary. It seems like she's the one who ruined everything. Anyway, I have no intention of prying into your private affairs. But if you're in debt, you'd better deal with it quickly before things get out of hand. Also, please leave that house as soon as possible. I'll take my leave now. Though I had more to say, I decided to let them face their impending doom on their own. After hanging up, I ignored all the apology emails from my son. My husband, who had also been contacted, dismissed them with even colder words than I did. We've been ignored until now, but it's our turn to ignore them. They should thoroughly enjoy their hellish lives. A few months later, I heard that the couple had moved out of the house into a shabby apartment. Catherine had accumulated a significant amount of debt. My son tried to initiate a divorce, but they decided to repay the debt together since it was also in his name. With both of them jobless, they cannot repay and are now busy working while being chased by debt collectors. Their hellish life continues, but they should try their best to overcome it. As for me, I'm currently considering a house to live in with my mother-in-law. My husband is likely to return from his business trip soon, so we're planning to live together in a comfortable house, enjoying a peaceful and happy life.